How did I shoot that? Let's figure that out today in the studio. Hello there, my name is Alex Silva. If you're new to this channel, consider subscribing in order for you to learn more about photography in general, but flash photography in particular. In this video, I'd like to share with you my process of how I handle a commercial shoot. I will describe the whole process, including the objectives, the requirements, then how that translated into location, the gear used, then the actual shoot, and of course the post-processing of the images. You can jump to any specific section using the chapter markers in the description below. For this shoot, I was approached by this jewelry company named Plarte, and their objectives were to produce images that would serve as their stock for social media and their online store. They wanted mostly advertising images, not product images. This means they wanted the images of the jewelry being used on models. In this case, they produced rings, earrings, necklaces, bracelets, things like that. So we agreed to have at first 3 models. In the end, we could only shoot 2. One of them was not available. During the conversation, I suggested shooting in a studio in order for us to remove any distracting elements in the image. Since I don't have a dedicated studio, I decided to install a portable studio at a hotel, at a meeting room in a hotel. I chose the hotel named The View, which has great facilities, and it's just a great place. I placed a background support, then the actual background. I was using a kind of flimsy support, that's why you don't see the roll of paper on the support. It was down on the floor, and I just taped the edge of the paper roll to the support. As you can see in the video, I placed 2 lights at each side of the model, pointing towards the background, but shooting with shoot-through umbrellas. And on top of the model, there was another light with a softbox with a 2 by 3 feet or 90 by 60 centimeter softbox, held by a boom arm light stand that I had mentioned in a previous video. The 2 lights pointing at the background were 2 Godox TT350s, both in radio slave mode, both in group B. This is how I could increase or decrease its power at the same time for both lights, and I was sure that the intensity of the light hitting the background would be pretty much uniform across the frame. On the other hand, the main light pointing at the model was a Godox TT685, also in radio slave mode, and that was in group A. I was shooting with my trusty Fujifilm X-T2 with the XF35mm lens f1.4, and of course I had a transmitter on top of it. It was the Godox XPro transmitter. I decided to shoot at 1/250th of a second and ISO 200 because I wanted to underexpose as much as possible, so I would only be controlling the lights coming from the flashes. I then decided to stop down the lens to 7.1. I wanted quite some depth of field in order for us to have a sharp image of the model, but also of the jewelry, which would be some pieces on their ears, some on the neck. We would be playing with the hands, things like that. So, and I wanted all pieces of jewelry in focus. With those parameters, I played with the power settings on the flashes. So I had a pretty clear but not completely white background, and then a nicely lit model. In this case, the model was leaning on a table, on a white table that was already in the place, and I decided to shoot this way because the white table would reflect some of the light coming from the flash, filling in some of the shadows that were created under her nose or under her chin. I mentioned how we had two models. The other model was a man that of course posed all the male jewelry, but for him, for some shots I wanted some wider shots covering from the waist up, and in those cases I could not use the table. That's why in this video you can see that I had placed a big portion that I had just recently cut from the roll of paper and decided to use that as a reflector. Of course, this reflector would be a bit farther from the light, but it was okay with me because I didn't want to fill in the shadows as much as we did with the girl, with Brenda, that's her name, and in this case with Enrique, I wanted a bit more contrast with the shadows that I thought would be helpful in this shot. Back home, when I finished the shoot, I placed my images in Lightroom and I called some of the images, and then with the selection that I made, I did some adjustments. Sorry, I did some adjustments mostly in the levels of shadows and the black point. Once the client saw the images, did a review of the images, they wanted a brighter background. So it wasn't a big deal. Thanks to Lightroom's newest masking features, I was able to just select the background and then make adjustments to it, making it brighter, increasing the exposure just on the background. And there you have it. We went from the requirements of the shoot, of course, and its objectives. We then selected the location and the gear. We shot, and then you saw some of the post-processing. I really hope you found this video interesting, informative, but also entertaining. If that is the case, please press the like button or the thanks button. You can also subscribe to the channel and of course share this video with your friends. But most of all, please remember to stay safe, keep learning, and keep creating. And I'll see you in the next video.